Morning, everybody. It's Father Peter here. I'm back with my weekly video blog. I've been off air for a while on vacation and now back. It is the Friday before Labor Day weekend. It is a quiet day. I was just sitting around the office talking about what we were going to talk about on this week's video blog, and Megan, who's taking the picture right now, said, "Boy, it would be great if Paul Reinhardt were here," and within seconds, in walks Paul. So I want to introduce you, if you don't know. Paul Reinhardt is a man who is dear to my heart and one of the people I admire most, who I've met in years. Paul also has a particular warm spot in my heart because he's from the same town I'm from, Del Mar, New York. Go Del Mar, New York.
Del Martians.
Del Martians, here we are. Del Martians bonded in New Canaan here. And Paul is a man who has taken tragedy, terrible, terrible tragedy that there are no words for, and turned that into a blessing for the world. So, Paul, I'm going to let you tell your story in a second, but to set it up, we are on the Friday after the gathering that you put together last night. I wonder if you might just say a word about your story, your personal story, and a word about what happened last evening.
Okay, sure. Well, my personal story, I'm just going to start it from the time that the New Canaan police knocked on my door at 3 a.m. And my wife and I went downstairs and they said, could you just step in here into your living room and sit down? And at that point we knew something serious was about to happen. And they told us that our son had passed away, and we found out it was from overdose, and it was in New Haven, and New Haven had called the New Canaan police. But from that, there were many months of grief and many months of processing. But 1 year later, I and my wife agreed to a newspaper article, and the newspaper article was put in the Advertiser, and it touched a lot of people. And it touched a lot of people who had children at home that were struggling with addiction or affected by addiction. And so I took that as a sign that maybe a support group in New Canaan would be a good idea. And at first I thought I could do it at a local Starbucks and just have people walk in. But I soon realized, no, you need a confidential setting where people feel safe. And then the other thing is you need a good facilitator. So we put those ingredients into place. We started out at Congregational Church, but from there, as the group grew, we decided to move it to a bigger location, and we now meet every Thursday at 7 p.m. in the library room at St. Mark's.
This is the New Canaan Parent Support Group for kids, parents who have kids who are dealing with addictions and the aftermath thereof. Paul, why don't you say what yesterday was nationally and the vigil, a little word about the vigil last night?
Yes, my son died in July of 2015, and the next month we were in Vermont, and I heard about this International Overdose Awareness Day because a small little town in Vermont, Berlin, Vermont, was having an awareness day and a vigil. And I kept that in the back of my mind, and it was still too early in my process of grief and starting up the parent support group. But this year I just targeted August 31st as a date where we in our own town could do something. If the little town of Berlin, Vermont could have a candlelight vigil, we could do it too.
Yeah, and so you had an amazing vigil last night. I just say, Paul, a friend of my sister's too, said something like he doesn't even have people over for dinner, maybe only 10 people, and the most he'd ever had at his party he's thrown. And last night, Paul threw a vigil party of sorts. 600 people came at least, and it was beyond the beyond. There's no real words to sum up how great it was and how moving it was and how well run it was. I wonder if you might tell folks a little bit about what happened, and then we'll be done. But
right.
What happened last night?
Well, there were really just two objectives to this vigil. One was to remember and honor the people who had passed, because the theme last night is they were all good kids. Yeah. The sons and daughters were all good kids, but they had a disease, and the disease affected the whole family. And then, on top of that, we wanted the community to come together and realize that everyone can help, and it doesn't take much. And at the very end of the vigil, during the candlelight part of it, we did all as a community say a pledge, and I'll just read that now, read parts of it. I pledge that I will reach out to someone I know who is struggling. I will let that person know I'm thinking about them. I will tell that person I'm available to talk. And I will take the initiative and not wait for that person to come to me. I will listen to their story, and if I do speak, I will have words of support and hope for the future. And so we spoke those words as a community last night, and then I thought Martha ended it with a beautiful prayer.
So just to finish up, I want all of you to know, who are St. Mark's people, to let you know that we are, as a parish, all in on this question of addiction and the opiate epidemic that is facing our world today. And it's not just our world, it's our kids and it's our community. And these are people who are near and dear to our heart. And again, Paul's son, Evan, no words for the effect that these devastations have on the parents and children and families. And as a parish, we plan to be always loving having your support group here, and the work that in part that Syra, our youth director, is helping with. And we have some things coming in the fall, programming in the fall, to bring in youth and their parents to look squarely at the issues that we have to face.
Yeah, so, I think September 17th, right. Syra was going to have a screening of Generation Found, which is a follow-on movie from anonymous people, and then afterwards have a discussion. So I think that's next on the calendar.
That is. And we have to finish up because everybody has ADD and they're not going to pay any more attention to us very soon here. So as we finish up, I just want to say, Paul, God bless you. I'm on the verge of tears when I sit with you and hear your story. And of things that I am pleased about in our St. Mark's world, it's that we're all in with you, and that we're all in with the work that you're doing, and expanding upon that for our own community. And I don't mean just our parish, but for the whole community we live in. This is holy, holy, holy work. God bless you. Paul, thanks. See you again next week.